Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need, from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms, and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rawlins, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales.
The Barley Room, a proud sponsor of Proview Networks for over 9 years, is pleased to introduce Black Iron Catering. From weddings and family reunions to birthdays and office parties, Black Iron Catering is perfect for any event. Contact Jamie at 505-459-8259 and book your event today. Black Iron Catering. Let us bring our kitchen to you.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
The Sports Desk is proudly presented by Car Crafters. It's like it never happened.
Car Crafters, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened?
Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
Perez Collision Center is a proud sponsor of Proview Networks and Albuquerque Boxing. Perez Collision Center offers expert knowledge on any of your auto body and paint needs. Give them a call today, 505-254-4655, or stop by for a visit at 2415 2nd Street Northwest in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Perez Collision Center.
Morning, welcome to the Sports Desk, live on Comcast Channel 26, also streamed on Facebook. I'm Ed Nunez. With us today as our special guest is the host of the opening drive, the co-host, JJ Buck, along with Jeff Symbieta. JJ, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me, Ed. I'm really excited to be here. Looking forward to the new high school football season, Lobo athletics. It's a great time of year right now in sports, for sure.
Well, you know, you guys cover so much on 610 every morning, along with Jeff Symbieta. And this morning we went through a lot of topics we want to cover because there's so much happening in baseball. You know, the Indians and the Twins, I can't believe the Twins had an 11.5 game lead and now it's even in the American League Central. Houston Astros acquiring Zach Greinke. So does that give them the edge with pitching down the stretch? I mean, I thought the Yankees might make a move. Luis Cervino threw out the mound last week, so let's see if he returns. But I wanted to get your take this morning. You had on UNM Athletic Director Eddie Nunez. And I didn't get a chance to hear it. Now, Jeff Symbieta did a good job of kind of wrapping it up when I was going to work, and I was kind of intrigued by what he said and what he meant. Yeah. Look, Jay, I've lived here a long time. I've been a Lobo fan, football fan since 1970. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, and Jeff said this morning, Jeff Symbieta said, you know, you're going to come, don't come. You know, there's been a lot of reasons why people don't go to the games. Now, I wanted to ask you this. They're picked to finish last. I'm talking about UNM football again in the conference. They're picked to finish last. They're 3-9 seasons. And what do you think the prospects are? Tavaka Tuioti returned to practice yesterday after being in California for his grandfather. His grandfather was a little bit ill. Hopefully he's getting better. He did return yesterday. But you've been around the program a long time. You do the pregame show along with Ned James. You guys do a great job with that. So you've been doing that for at least 5 years. Mm-hmm. You've been around Lobo football for a number of years. What do you think of the prospects this season for Lobo football?
Well, I'm excited about the offense. Joe Daly, new offense coordinator coming over from Liberty. He is someone that has experience in the option. He played 2 years as quarterback at Nebraska before he transferred to North Carolina. So that was his collegiate career. And then offensively last year at Liberty, it's a team that the Lobos saw here at Dreamstyle Stadium, lost to that team at Dreamstyle Stadium. It was a spread offense. It was wide open. It was push the football down the field. I think they're going to try to mesh it better than they did last year with Calvin McGee. Last year, one and done with Calvin McGee as the offensive coordinator. Quarterback health was the main reason why they struggled so much, but it never felt like they could get to an identity. I really do feel like with Joe Daly coming in, these guys having that experience of doing at least something different next year, is we will see a better offense from New Mexico. And it's a wide open quarterback competition. It seems like Sharon Jones should be the leader in the clubhouse, that he's a senior.
Right.
Tavaka, you mentioned the 2 weeks of camp that he missed attending to Family Matters. They really like Tavaka, but now he has that ground to catch up. I think it's wide open because it is a blank slate with Joe Daly. This is his first time seeing all these guys, including Bryant Hughes, the junior college transfer. So I really think right now, I don't know who's starting week 1. I think it's that wide open in this offense right now.
No, I think if Tavaka Tuioti doesn't miss the time that he did, he's probably the starter. But the only thing, I've got to ask you this too, though, and I think it's a fair question. The triple option, they tried to mix it in a little bit with some spread last year with Calvin McGee. They had some good success with that triple option. They led the nation in rushing a couple times, and they had some guys that really got some yards, explosive plays, and now they're going a little bit away for the second year away from that. But I've got to, I got to say this though: Cole Gauchi, Lamar Jordan, the quarterbacks of the past, Tavaka Tuioti, all those quarterbacks, and being exposed to that triple option, almost all of them have gotten injured, and especially Cole Gauchi. Now, when Cole Gauchi was here, he's an upright quarterback, 6'5", 6'6". He's an easy target, right? He did a good job of running the option, but I don't know how many concussions he had. At least 4, I think.
Yeah, that's why he finished his career at tight end for that final season.
So I've got to ask that: did Tavaka Tuioti? Ned James came on with me about 2 months ago. Said he needed to do some work in the weight room to develop that body, to take those hits. Again, you're in that triple option. You hold the ball to the last second, and boom, you make the pitch. And you're exposing yourself. You're going to get hit. You're going to get hit. So I wonder if this is the year. We've seen flashes, Jay, of Tavaka Tuioti. Is this the season, if he's on the field, does he put it all together?
The coaching staff really believes he does. He's been the guy that up until camp, he was the first person out of Bob Davies' mouth when talking about the quarterback. So but we will see how this 2 weeks really does affect him. I think that's why they tried to change the offense a little bit, to take some of the onus off the quarterbacks running the football so much. But it's also the evolution of talent. When you go back to the 2 bowl seasons the Lobos had, and then capping it 3 years ago, winning 9 games, that was one of the most talented rosters this team has had in a decade. And it really doesn't get enough credit. I think Lamar Jordan, just because he wasn't a great passer, people didn't realize how good he was at running that offense.
That's true.
And it actually worked for them that year, that they had Lamar Jordan and then Austin Apodaca, who, by the way, he's playing in the CFL. So he has a pro career right now on a roster up there. And the way that those guys meshed, they got to 9 wins. And now they've been trying to figure out who can be the guy, but also keep these quarterbacks upright and healthy. And the running backs, Jarrell Presley, Terrion Gibson. Like, Presley was a standout in preseason last year in the NFL. He had a long kickoff return for the Vikings.
Right.
Terrion Gibson, you talk to anyone in this conference, the Mountain West Conference, that coaching staff, he was the fastest player on that team. So they're trying to keep the quarterbacks healthy, but also see, do they have that talent again? Who can be that guy? Because the running game didn't have a game breaker like that last year.
And you mentioned Presley and Gibson, the explosive plays, runs between the tackles. They missed that last year. They really did. And so at running back, they've got some questions, but they also they think they have an open field where they have guys in camp that they think can contribute. They talked about the UCLA safety, the transfer on defense. But I guess the other question is this: even if let's say they go 7-5 and 8-3, they had success, as you mentioned, 9-4 a couple years ago, and that was a very good team. But what does it mean for Lobo football? And I always got to ask this. I have to ask this because I've seen when Rocky Long was here. I still remember they had 44,000 against the Aggies one time. I remember that. I was there at that stadium. And it seems that, again, I'm going to be a fan because I've been a fan since '70. I'm going to follow the team. Every single Saturday, I want to know if they won. If they're on, I'm listening. This goes back years. What does it mean, though? What does success look like for a Bob Davie and the UNM football program? In other words, going forward, what does it mean for Dreamstyle Stadium? Do they get more fans? I mean, last year, I got to say, Jay, I've been there when Mike Shepard was the coach, and they used to announce 11,000. It was more like
lean years,
3,000. You know, and I think we all want to see that day where we have big tailgates and people are just Saturday afternoon football, right? We're looking forward to college football, Alabama, Clemson. We'll talk about that in a minute. But we want to see football here succeed. Everybody wants to see it succeed, right? I mean, the soccer program, they dropped that. And you know, there's a lot of, and then United all of a sudden catches fire, and there's some irony there. But everybody, at least that I know of, wants to see that program succeed.
It's about the product on the field, and back-to-back 3-9 seasons coupled with 2 winning seasons. And I don't know, you go back to even, you know, Rocky Long's last year, he was under 500. The Loxley era, there was a lot of building to do. And you give Bob Davie credit for what he was able to do to get that team back, but at some point in time, it's can you find any consistency? And that's what this program has lacked for a very long time. But to what winning means, I think winning would absolutely re-energize this fan base. It's a talk across college football outside of the Power 5 conferences of getting people to games. It's not just a problem here in Albuquerque. You look around the Mountain West, Colorado State saying the same thing, Wyoming saying the same thing. So it's always an uphill battle, but you got to have a better product. And I think right now, even with the back-to-back 3-9 seasons, this is the time to try to capitalize on what should be hope and excitement of, okay, we can turn that page. It's a new year. And the season's right around the corner. It's August 31st. So there's a lot of work to do just in the next couple weeks from UNM to try to spark what they can leading up to that season opener.
Now, you know, Jay, it's a lot of good points, and I kind of wonder, you mentioned the decline in attendance. I look at UNLV whenever we play UNLV, and there's not that many people there, right? Wyoming used to have some good attendance. CSU built their new stadium. They've got some fans coming in. But I kind of wonder, we'll get to this a little bit later, declining numbers in football as far as participation here in New Mexico. That's kind of when I heard that from some coaches at the coaches clinic, it was kind of like, that piqued my interest a little bit because there's not as many people, at least at the high school level in New Mexico. There's a couple of teams, Cuesta couldn't field a team. There's some teams in the state that couldn't field a football team. So you kind of wonder, again, that's probably down the line. Is football numbers declining, not just at the high school level, but at the college level as well? You have to wonder.
Yeah, you do. And it's building fans, it has to start young. We are a fan because a family member, our dad, our mom, as someone else, we grew up with it. Took us to games. And so you got to try to tap into that, the pipeline of YAFL, high school football, college football. So it's an equation in which there's not one answer, but there's multiple ways to try to get to how can this sport matter in New Mexico at multiple levels.
I'll tell you what, boy, if you think about it, and I've covered Proview, and you've done some games for us in Proview Networks, and I call it Friday Night Lights, it's so much fun. It really is. And then we've covered multiple championships. I went to Tatum last year for the 8-man championship, and if you don't think that meant something to Tatum, it most certainly did. You know, and it's so much fun to see these kids competing, you know, at the amateur level. They're not pros, but they're giving it everything they have. And so I think you're right. It does matter, the product and what you're putting on the field, and hopefully they can turn it around this season, because I think people around the program, and you're around it a lot, Jay, you see it every time you're at your home game, you're at every home game right there around the program. And so, you know, you've been around the program for 5-10 years, right there, you know, every Saturday you're there. So you feel it. You feel the culture, and the culture right now, and you're right, there were some lean years there with Coach Loxley, and it's kind of, Coach Davie had some good years. I don't know if he gets enough credit for those years that he had. You mentioned he had some very fast guys. Even last year, Ridgeway, he had some track guys. Delane Hart Johnson, I thought they didn't get enough use out of him. You know, big receiver, big target, right? But they were never going to go to throwing the ball. That's not their strength. Even though they're going to spread it out a little bit more, their bread and butter, I still say, is running between the tackles.
Yeah, and we'll see if Joe Daly can mesh the two better than they tried last year, because it does go back to quarterback health. You know, last year it was Tavaka Tuioti getting hurt in the Wisconsin game after a good first quarter they played. Colton Gerhardt got hurt in the very first game of the season. So you had Colton Gerhardt, Sharon Jones, and Tavaka Tuioti playing last year, and they just weren't able to get that consistency. So a big thing for them would be to have a healthy quarterback for at least a month, and to see what 4 games with one quarterback could look like for this team.
I think that's so important, because, you know, again, if you don't have consistency at that position, now if that does happen, if Tuioti goes down again, Sherion Jones should have enough. I think they feel good about him. I think it's going to be very close to who starts that game. With Tavaka Tuioti missing as much camp as he did. He missed 8 practices, and that's a lot of reps. That's a lot of trust that you're building with receivers, a lot of different things that you're building with linemen. People see a leader in the huddle, and they're used to it. And when you're gone, and again, we understand why. We do get that. But people are used to seeing a certain leader, and they want that leader in the huddle. So we'll see how that all plays out. We'll take a short break and be back to the sports desk after these messages.
Fires forward with the right hand, a left and then a right, and this one. By Sanchez, and right back on the right hand. They'll exchange it. Combination now for Pitbull. There's. Torres says, let's go. He says, come get me. And the crowd will boo. And now, fighted this, hasn't he? Oh. There's a great combination. And now I think you're seeing this. Here, a minute to go in round 1. And then a right hand. You see Ramirez switch. Well, there's a good answer right back. That's a great combination for Griego to end it. Look at the quick combination. Nice left. Third round. 2 minutes to go in round 3. Benavides puts Ramirez down. A shot to.
Gentlemen, your winner, the Pitbull, Josh Morris, ladies and gentlemen.
The Albuquerque Dragway is a proud sponsor of Proview Networks. Visit abqdragway.com for directions and a full event schedule.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Sadie's is a proud supporter of New Mexico high school sports and athletics, and we here at Proview Networks would like to thank Sadie's for their continued support in helping us bring you all of your New Mexico high school sports coverage.
Car Crafters, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened?
Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car crafters, it's like it never happened.
Dreamstyle Remodeling has been wowing homeowners in New Mexico since 1989. Selected as Best Custom Home Remodeler for 3 consecutive years by readers of the Albuquerque Journal, we're also your exclusive provider for top home improvement brands like Renewal by Anderson, Four Seasons, Blaze King, and many others. Founded and headquartered in Albuquerque, Dreamstyle Remodeling is family-owned and now employs more than 500 people across the southwestern U.S. In fact, we've helped more than 60,000 homeowners improve their home in New Mexico, Arizona, California, Idaho, and West Texas. We're committed to providing a superior customer experience. We've earned 4.6 stars with hundreds of online reviews and have an A+ with the BBB. Dreamstyle Remodeling is a proud supporter of UNM Athletics. Visit our beautiful 10,000 square foot showroom at 1460 Renaissance Boulevard across from Sam's Club, or dreamstyleremodeling.com to make your home remodeling dreams come true.
Welcome back to the Sports Desk live on Comcast Channel 26, also streamed on the Facebook Live. I'm Ed Nunez, along with our special guest. He's the co-host of the opening drive, along with Jeff Symbieta. JJ Buck. Jay, again, thanks so much for being with us, man. You got so much to say, and sometimes at 6:10, you'll do the morning program, and then if Michael Carlisle or Mike Trujillo's out, you'll do the afternoon. So sometimes their 6:10 listeners are lucky to get 4 hours of you, or in some cases,
or
5.
Unlucky. You can look at it that way too.
Jay, you've been, you wanted to go over a little bit about your career, and you've been with Cumulus, you said 12 years, 9 years on the air.
Right out of high school, I got into radio, and I've
talk about that a little bit, because I think there's a lot of people out there, and I was one of them. I started my media career much later, but talk about that a little bit. I think there's a lot of people that think I want to get into that. It sounds like fun, and it is, but it's a lot of work. So talk about how doors open for you.
Yeah, I started behind the scenes. I was someone that was running late night remotes. I was editing shows in the back room. I was running the board. I was pulling the shifts. Saturday 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. running college football. Same thing on Sundays for the NFL. So that experience really did help me when I translated to doing shows. Producing shows, being on air, and plus just I have a passion for sports, and I love to talk about it. I love what sport can do for communities, for people, and how it's easy to hot take everything in this business and kind of look at the negatives, but there's still so much positive with what sport does, from the little league level all the way up to the professional level, and just being able to experience it the way I do now, covering the sports locally, and then having this avenue to talk to the community on a daily basis. It's just been amazing, and I love it.
I'm sure, you started, who was your on-air partner? Has it been Jeff Symbieta for 10 years?
Well,
who was your first on-air partner?
So the funny thing is when I got in the radio, I was a senior in high school, and I was an intern for a little bit, and then I worked at a station called 1310 The Ticket back in the day, and that's where I actually
that station. I remember that station.
Met Jeff Symbieta there, and so I was producing morning and afternoon shows, and then that station folded. It happens sometimes in the world of AM radio, and I wound up at Cumulus and just took off since there. And then when you look at the Sports Animal show, when I joined it, it was me, Jeff Symbieta, and Joe Gonzalez that would do in the mornings, and then for the last 8 years, it's been Jeff and I that have been carrying the torch.
And also, you guys have won, I think, 3 or 4 awards for outstanding radio, whatever award it was. I see it when we go in there and do our show on Saturday afternoons or Saturday mornings. You guys have won 4 or 5 awards.
Yeah, it's nice recognition, New Mexico Broadcasters Association, but it's just kind of the passion. Hey, all right, what are we doing this for? We're doing it because we enjoy it, but also the listeners, what do they care about? What resonates? And just little things like that keep you going.
It's funny because I listen on the way to work, and some of the callers that you have call in to our show on the mic with Mike Adams on Saturday, and some of them, man, Big Donald, rest in peace. Big Donald was a funny caller. He had funny takes, right? Big Donald, I'm out. Lance, right? Lance calls our program. Edward is one of your most knowledgeable callers, right? Yes. And then Lance will call in and say, well, I don't like what Edward said. You guys have some, Rudy C, the Lobo rah-rah for days. I don't care what the Lobos do. That guy is going to back up the Lobos. Talk a little bit about some of the callers you get.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing about local radio is you have that kind of presence to where people can interact directly with what you're doing, whether it's calls, emails, social media, just get involved with the conversation. And such a small percentage of the people that listen actually call into radio shows, but when you kind of build those relationships, you build those personalities. Like we have callers that them because they're consistent and they kind of become part of the show and have their own personalities and personas, as you just said. And that's the fun part, is to make that connection, have those reminders, oh, this is why we're doing this, so this is what it means to the community, and being able to talk sports on a statewide level, because just as much as we talk about Lobos, we have that connection with Mexico State to have them on the show, and realizing at the Division I level we have 2 prominent programs here, and then the high school football, the high school sports, everything that Proview does. It's really nice to see how passionate people are about sports. In a state that, AAA baseball, get into how that resonates, but New Mexico United taking off, but mainly it's been about college and high school sports, and just to still see how that grows, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, like I said, you do that on a daily basis, and you produced our show for a number of years on the mic with Mike Adams. You were the producer for at least 4 or 5 years when I was there, and so you got a respite from that, and you were able to spend some more time with your son on Saturday, which your son, again, just a beautiful young man that grows so fast. So I'm glad you're being able to spend more time with your son on Saturdays. Jay, I want to get into some NFL here, and I know you guys have covered this. It's been in the media. Dak Prescott, the Cowboys. We'll talk about the Cowboys, a little bit about the Broncos. Cowboys. That's definitely my team, but they've got some contracts that are up. They've got Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott's holding out. Amari Cooper wants his money. Now, the rumor was yesterday, it was said that Dak Prescott had turned down $30 million a year and wants $40 million. Now, for me, I got to say that again, I've been a Cowboy fan since '70. I don't think he's worth $30 million. I don't. Now, again, the market, Wentz said they got 33, right? Carson Wentz got $33 million a year. So, where does this end up for the Dallas Cowboys? The other thing was they didn't bring in a veteran quarterback to camp. I think they should have to challenge him a little bit and not make him as comfortable.
To me, it's negotiation. And for the regular fan, you hear $30, $40 million, you lose your mind, because that's a world we're never going to be in. So you got to realize that these conversations are happening at a different level. Like, we can't compare our 9-to-5 job to what they're doing. So I understand how it can be frustrating as a fan. You hear, how in the heck could you turn down $30 million? To me, it's just negotiation. So what if you ask for 40? You come back down to 30, 33, you move on. He's in camp, as is Amari Cooper. They're not threatening holdout. I think this situation will be fine. It's just when people hear those figures, they don't associate Dak with that quarterback yet. It's just negotiation. It's just what you do in that process. Counter the offer, see what they give back. Maybe his guaranteed money goes up a little bit, because that's been the biggest thing with these contracts, is these guys, not the annual salary, it's how much guaranteed money can you get. So barring injury, whatever it is, this is your deal, you're getting paid that money. So I think it's more along those lines of just trying to magnify how much guaranteed money he gets. But like I said, Dak is in camp, Amari's in camp, they're going to be playing. The one that's interesting is Zeke. Is what do they want to do with Ezekiel Elliott, given how much control they still do have over him, contract-wise?
Well, he's got 2 years left, so I don't think he can pull a Le'Veon Bell and be a free agent. He can't do that. He's still under contract. I'll say this, that I think, as far as I'm concerned, he's the best player on the roster. And now a lot of people said that they got the yards because of the offensive line. That offensive line last year, Travis Frederick was out, Laurel Collins struggled, Connor Williams struggled. It wasn't the elite line that people want to make it out to be. I think the guy runs with speed, power, has a nasty stiff arm, and you can split him out wide. He does so much for that team. But like you said, I don't know what they're going to do there. Here's the thing that I think. First 3 games are against Washington, Giants, Skins, Miami. Jerry Jones might be thinking, if we're 3-0, he's got to come on his knees to me.
It's a favorable schedule.
Those
for
are winnable
Dallas
games
to start the season, even without Ezekiel Elliott. And part of it is you just don't know what Dak is going to be on a consistent basis without that run game. They've been so good together. This is a team that Dak benefits from Zeke. Zeke benefits from a team that hasn't put all their trust in the quarterback just yet. And so the pressure is on Dak Prescott. And, he's going to accept the contract eventually. I don't see him getting to the point where he turns down that kind of deal just to bet on himself, because it's the uncertainty. Let's say Zeke isn't there 3, 5, 8 games. How good is he going to be in that situation with more pressure on him?
Okay, I think that's a great point, because last year, starting the season, they said it was going to be a Dak-friendly offense, right? And we saw the results of that. I mean, Michael Gallup was a good receiver. Tavion Austin got hurt. Jason Witten wasn't around, his security blanket. Then when they got Amari Cooper, things changed, right? It changed a little bit, their offense, and then they had Zeke, and then, the offense got better. But I don't think Prescott, for me, Dak Prescott is not that quarterback that you can trust. Put the offense on his back. We saw what happened when Zeke was suspended 2 years ago. They lost 3-3, which wasn't horrible. Tyron Smith was also missing at left tackle, and Chaz Green almost got Dak Prescott killed in that game against Atlanta when he was sacked 8 times.
I like Dak. I think he's a good quarterback. It is absolutely fair to say there's still some questions, because is he someone you look at and he's going to go win by himself? Well, not yet. And really no one wins by themselves. But for me, Dallas, why it feels concerning right now is just because all 3 happen to be happening right now. That Dak and Amari are free agents after this year. And Zeke was in a situation where running back, he's getting paid a good amount of money because he was a top 5 pick. Saquon Barkley is making a lot of money because he's a top 5 pick. But it's one where multiple running backs are fighting for the future of that position because they don't want to pay the Tiger a contract. Stephen Jones has been open about it, saying, we're not going to reset the market like that. That was a bad deal.
Stephen Jones said that.
So with what's going on with Zeke, it's about trying to maximize his pay, because if he finishes out his contract, he goes through those 2 franchise tag years plus in 2 years, he's not going to be the same running back. That's his peak years. So you see the challenge that these running backs are facing right now, why there was a Le'Veon Bell situation, why Zeke is holding out right now, is because their window's smaller than any other position in that league.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I still think you're right. I think Dak Prescott will get signed. He's not going to bet on himself and leave that kind of money on the table. Let's turn to Antonio Bryant. Antonio Bryant, very much in the news as well. Talked about his helmet. Jim Rome went all in on him just before I came. Said it was more of a distraction about his feet. And for me, if you're going to cryotherapy and you're not putting on the right footwear and you know what the Raiders did to acquire you, I thought it was very irresponsible on Antonio Brown's behalf. I really did. I thought it was very irresponsible.
If it was just the feet, you can be like, all right, it was a terrible mistake, and you move on. But then you have the helmet controversy, and then you're learning that he left camp because of the helmet, and we've already seen what happened when he ended his Steeler tenure, not showing up. He didn't want to practice, but then he says, hey, I'm ready for the game. And Mike Tomlin's like, well, no, you weren't here. That's carrying over right now. And to me, I think he's going to buy a Corvette next. This is classic midlife crisis for Antonio Brown. What is happening? No one's really sure why he's acting this way. And it's one where if anyone needs the football season to start, it's that guy. He needs a game to play. He needs to be focused on a game. And Antonio Brown, more so than anyone, needs the season to start.
Well, it's kind of funny, JJ, because they said even in the meetings that he's attended that he hasn't been real focused. So he's a diva. There's no question about it. If you remember the way the season ended last year, he's on the sideline. They couldn't get a hold of him for a week. He didn't come to practice. He has the mink on the side. He looks sharp. He always looks good. That is a major diva along the lines of a Terrell Owens and a Michael Irvin. Those guys produce, though. I'll tell you one thing about Michael Irvin. They said that about Michael Irvin, right, a diva. But when it came time for game time, the guy produced like no other.
And that's the thing with Antonio Brown, is he backs it up. I just don't know what happened the end of last year and now the carryover into this season, why it got him to that point. But hopefully once the season starts, you just get him on that field playing with Derek Carr, catching the passes. Hopefully he'll chill out. He's always going to be a guy that's living on that edge, but he has gone over that cliff this offseason.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll get into some Major League Baseball after these messages on the Sports Desk.
Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rollins, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
The Sports Desk is proudly presented by Car Crafters. It's like it never happened.
Car Crafters, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened?
Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
Perez Collision Center is a proud sponsor of Proview Networks and Albuquerque Boxing. Perez Collision Center offers expert knowledge on any of your auto body and paint needs. Give them a call today, 505-254-4655, or stop by for a visit at 2415 2nd Street Northwest in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Perez Collision Center.
Dream Style Remodeling has been wowing homeowners in New Mexico since 1989. Selected as Best Custom Home Remodeler for 3 consecutive years by readers of the Albuquerque Journal, we're also your exclusive provider for top home improvement brands like Renewal by Anderson, Four Seasons, Blaze King, and many others. Founded and headquartered in Albuquerque, Dream Style Remodeling is family owned and now employs more than 500 people across the southwestern U.S. In fact, we've helped more than 60,000 homeowners improve their home in New Mexico, Arizona, California, Idaho, and West Texas. We're committed to providing a superior customer experience. We've earned 4.6 stars with hundreds of online reviews and have an A+ with the BBB. Dream Style Remodeling is a proud supporter of UNM Athletics. Visit our beautiful 10,000 square foot showroom at 1460 Renaissance Boulevard across from Sam's Club or dreamstyleremodeling.com to make your home remodeling dreams come true.
Sadie's is a proud supporter of New Mexico high school sports and athletics, and we here at Proview Networks would like to thank Sadie's for their continued support in helping us bring you all of your New Mexico high school sports coverage.
Welcome back to the Sports Desk, live on Comcast Channel 26, also streamed on Facebook. I'm Ed Nunez, along with our special guest. He's the host of the opening drive, along with Jeff Sibieta, JJ Buck. Jay, man, been some good talk.
Oh, absolutely,
some good talk.
It.
Yeah,
it is a great time of year. Anytime I hear someone say dog days of summer, I just realize they're lazy. That's all I think about.
You know, speaking of dog days of summer, Jay, we got to get into Major League Baseball. I think there's some great things going around with Major League Baseball. One of the things, we'll get into some of these proposed rule changes later, robotic umpires being able to steal first base. Hall of Famer Rich Goose Gossage was in town last week, and he went all in on those changes. He wasn't for any of them, and back in the day, you weren't born yet, Jay. You're much younger than us, and I'm not saying that in a bad way, but Goose brought it 100 miles an hour. Goose pitched for the Pirates, White Sox, Yankees, better known as a Yankee, but he's not in for all these changes. We'll go into some of that later, but I think the team that I want to talk about, is the New York Yankees, they've played outstanding ball. No Dylan Betances, Edwin Encarnacion, broken wrist, Judge on the DL. Luis Severino is not back yet, just threw off the mound on Saturday. They've had numerous injuries, and Gary Sanchez just came off the DL. I mean, they've had numerous injuries to that lineup. I don't know that manager Aaron Boone is getting the credit that he deserves.
Oh, he's been fantastic, but it goes to my guy, DJ LeMahieu. Signed from the Colorado Rockies as a utility player for the Yankees. He's played shortstop, he's played second base, he's played first base. He is an AL MVP candidate, in my opinion.
Batting 331.
338. 80 RBIs. He's been the mainstay in that lineup. And people like to discredit Rockies players for playing at Coors Field. And like all the numbers, you get it. It's going to be inflated, altitude, everything that goes on in Coors. Well, he's carried that over to the AL, been the Yankees' best player. And you're right about Aaron Boone, how he's managed that rotation. But to me, it's DJ LeMahieu holding that infield together, and offensively, they just got dudes upon dudes. Whether it's Stanton being down, Judge is back. You look at that lineup. Gleyber Torres hit 3 home runs yesterday versus the Orioles. He has 13 against Baltimore this season. They're a team that, talent-wise, they're deep. Yes, they can spend money, but they've done a really good job acquiring not marquee pieces, because no one thought DJ LeMahieu would be the best signing of the offseason, and he has been so far.
Giancarlo Stanton still on the DL. Now, I guess everyone's probably wondering, Luis Severino sounds like his return is right around the corner. Probably people are wondering, hey, when we get all these players back, they've been playing at this kind of clip without them, what are they going to do with them? So it's going to be interesting to see. I don't know if Betances is coming back this year or not. I'm not sure. But all those, if you get Severino back, and they're going to get Stanton back at some point, and this team, again, they haven't had Stanton and Encarnacion and Judge at the same time for what? They had him for 2 games, and then Stanton hurt his knee.
Yeah. They're a team, they're stacked, and they're expecting those guys back. It will help the bullpen. Betances there with a former closer in Zach Britton, Adam Ottavino, who they signed in the offseason. And offensively, 1 through 9, whatever lineup they put out there, it feels like guys can hit. Cameron Maybin off the scrap heap has been phenomenal in his defensive role and hitting for them as well. So you look at it, it's the Yankees and it's the Astros. And it feels like everyone else is chasing those teams right now in the American League.
The Astros have been playing unbelievable. They got beat by a walk-off the other night, but they've been playing real good ball. And what is the acquisition of Zach Greinke, mean to the Houston Astros. I mean, their rotation with Justin Verlander leads the majors in wins, I believe. They've been playing very well, and then they get, he was 10-4 with Arizona, I believe. Greinke, he kind of got roughed up his first start, still won that start. But he joins a rotation that does pitching beat, if it comes down to them and the Yankees, Astros and New York, does pitching beat that? And because they've got the better pitching.
They do. 1 through 3, there's not a better top 3 in the American League. Greinke coming in, as that third guy. His first start was against the Rockies. So the Astros were playing the Rockies, and the Rockies are a team that was familiar with him.
That's your team.
Yes,
big Rocky fan.
So the Rockies, seeing Greinke, he had a tough time against the Rockies. But I think the rest of the American League, it's going to struggle with that rotation. They have 66 quality starts coming into today. That's the most in the American League. So that's a pitcher going at least 6 innings, 3 earned runs or less. And you go into a 5-game series, let alone a 7-game series, you have Verlander, Cole, Greinke. You don't need a 4th starter most likely, and then you can just focus on the bullpen.
Shorten the rotations in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So those shortened rotations will definitely favor the Astros.
They will. And I think they're the best team in the American League. The Yankees are a phenomenal story. I know you look at the Central with the Indians and Twins. That's a really fun race, but I just don't see the arms with those teams to keep pace in terms of like a AL championship level.
Let's talk about the National League. You think this is the Dodgers' year? They're on a 100-win season. They're on pace for it. Bellinger, Turner's played well. They've got some good pitching. Walker Buehler, great story in Sports Illustrated about Walker Buehler. Kershaw, Henry. I mean, how do you say his name?
Hyun-Jin Ryu.
Hyun-Jin Ryu. He's pitched very well.
He was starter in the All-Star game, and he's been fantastic. They have a really good top 3 when you look at Ryu and Buehler. And even if you want to mix in Urias and Kenta Maeda, those guys just giving you the innings. To me, it is the Dodgers. The Braves have been fascinating to me. I love that offense with Ronald Acuna Jr., Ozzie Albies, and Freddie Freeman. So the Cubs, they invest a lot of money. It's the Dodgers. They are the safe bet, the best bet to win the National League and get back in the World Series, and it's the bullpen. They have a lot of questions, but so does everyone else in baseball. There are very few teams that don't have questions in the bullpen, and I just think the talent, the depth they have, they can overcome that in the National League.
Dodgers haven't won since '88. Haven't won since '88. They made some good runs. They made a good run last year. They haven't won. Yeah. They lost to the Red Sox in the World Series. A lot of people think this is their year, and so a lot of things have to go right. Pitching, all kind of. Dave Roberts has done a good job managing them.
Well, and you talk about the depth. The Yankees have shown. Dave Roberts has done a fantastic job, whether it's Max Muncy or Beatty coming into the lineup, dealing with A.J. Pollock being out early, working on Jock Peterson, Alex Verdugo. They've done the same thing lineup-wise, working through injuries and maximizing guys in that infield. Corey Seager coming back. So the depth is there, the talent is there, and that's why you look at the Dodgers with an 18.5-game lead and a National League West. No one can touch them in that division.
It's not this year. You have to wonder when it'll be. Jay, I want to also ask you about baseball as a whole. Millennials, which you're one, Jay, and I'd say that much affection.
We ruin everything. I'm sorry.
Now, Jay, they've talked about robots as umpires. They've talked about stealing first base. They've talked about outlawing these shifts to make the game more exciting. Now, it was a national pastime for many years, right? But it suffered a little bit. Is baseball attendance on the decline? What does baseball need to do to shore up its younger viewers who are going to be watching this game for many years?
Well, baseball is the most regionalized sport of any of them. If you're in a baseball market during the summer, then it matters. I think that's where they've struggled the most is June, July, early August. How do they maximize themselves on a national landscape? Because in baseball markets, if you're in San Diego, you're in Baltimore, even if they're struggling, it's going to matter. For Major League Baseball moving forward, I do think that pace of play definitely has to be considered. That's why we've seen the pitch clock the last few years in minor league baseball. Just get things moving. That's why there's a shot clock in basketball. That's why there's a play clock in football. You just want to keep things going. And for me, I'm an advocate of the strike zone because the strike zone's a rule, right? And if the strike zone's a strike zone, why should it change based on an umpire?
But it does.
Yeah. But I don't think it should. Why should one strike zone be different just based on who you are as an umpire?
The players have been all over Angel Hernandez.
Yeah. So I think that's something. If you watch tennis and you see those tennis replays and you can see the ball just barely hitting the line and they get that done in 10 seconds, I'm pretty sure they could work on the technology, the camera angles where it needs to be to get a strike zone, and then also adapt that strike zone per batter. So I think it's something that's coming. It will be a part of the game. I don't know if that necessarily speeds up the game. I just think that's a step forward for baseball.
It is, but there's a lot of people that are against. Again, technology has helped. I say this as an official, former basketball official, right? Did it for 22 years, but now every call that's made in basketball, tennis, any call is being scrutinized by video, right? No matter what I thought, bang, bang, boom, right? I had the call, then they go back and, well, he missed this and missed that. Technology helps a lot of things, right?
It helps, but it also hurts it because we see everything in slow motion.
Right.
So we can see all the mistakes. And now sports leagues, while they've had a decent amount of time to deal with replay, they're still figuring out what the right balance is. The NFL this year instituting pass interference as a reviewable play. You still need those things, but it's got to be limited. Like, you can't have every play reviewed. I think that's what will hurt sports if you get to that point where you're looking at absolutely everything. But there's got to be the ability to look at things and then challenges like we see in football, to give managers and teams the opportunity to challenge questionable calls.
I was kind of not for that in baseball because I was so used to the old style, school style of baseball. But I think it's helped. Jay, we sure appreciate it. Our special guest today was JJ Buck, the co-host of the opening drive with Jeff Symbieta. Jay,
thanks
so much, man.
Appreciate it.
That was a lot of fun. We'll be back to the sports desk with Proview President Steve Davis after these messages.
The Albuquerque Dragway is a proud sponsor of Proview Networks. Visit abqdragway.com for directions and a full event schedule.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network. Car Crafters, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened?
Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car crafters, it's like it never happened.
Dream Style Remodeling has been wowing homeowners in New Mexico since 1989. Selected as Best Custom Home Remodeler for 3 consecutive years by readers of the Albuquerque Journal, we're also your exclusive provider for top home improvement brands like Renewal by Anderson, Four Seasons, Blaze King, and many others. Founded and headquartered in Albuquerque, Dream Style Remodeling is family-owned and now employs more than 500 people across the southwestern U.S. In fact, we've helped more than 60,000 homeowners improve their home in New Mexico, Arizona, California, Idaho, and West Texas. We're committed to providing a superior customer experience. We've earned 4.6 stars with hundreds of online reviews and have an A+ with the BBB. Dream Style Remodeling is a proud supporter of UNM Athletics. Visit our beautiful 10,000 square foot showroom at 1460 Renaissance Boulevard across from Sam's Club or dreamstyleremodeling.com to make your home remodeling dreams come true.
Welcome back to the Sports Desk. I'm Ed Nunez. In the first 3 segments, we had on the co-host of the opening drive with Jeff Symbieta, JJ Buck. Now we joined by Proview President Steve Davis. Steve, thanks for coming on with us. We appreciate it. There's so many things happening with Proview Networks, and I know you wanted to talk. Hey, high school football is around the corner. It's hard to believe that because I know we've always talked about that during football season. We're like, wow, it's going to go so fast. Then it's the seeding and selection show, then basketball, then baseball, and Proview Networks covers them all, man.
No, what a great upcoming year. We're excited. I think Sebastian and Adam's been out and got all the coaches, interviewed players and coaches. We're going to have a little special either this week or next week. Next week's the opening week, and it's so many good things are happening. Contracts with Western New Mexico, which are going to be the voice of the Mustangs and Highlands, New Mexico. So again, we're just bringing one more, more something that's valuable to the city of Albuquerque as our universities that are across the state.
Steve, you've been involved with Proview Networks since its inception, I believe, 13 years ago?
12
years ago. Talk a little bit about, again, I joined in 2012, but talk a little bit about, and we've made major strides since then, but talk a little bit about how the company's grown even over the past summer. I mean, you mentioned Western. You're going to be doing some other things that you will wait on the announcement on that. There's going to
we
be
got a big surprise, you know.
Yes.
Well, next
Yes.
week it'll be, you know, very good. You know, we're just going to leave it at that.
Right.
We got a few bugs. We're still working on the technology to make sure that we're going to start next week. But that will, you know, a few people know about it, and when that happens, it'll just really make the city channel even more watched than it is already. So it's going to be great for another great thing for the city and for Proview Networks.
I'll tell you what, we've covered so many things besides just high school sports, right? We've done young American football. We've done, you know, so many. Now you're branching out to Western New Mexico. Highlands. We covered New Mexico Highlands last year. Football, you can't believe it's around the corner. Your early favorites, Steve. Now we know the La Cueva Bears are loaded. The Volcano Vista has a good team. Cleveland,
and that's
should
our
be
first
pretty good.
Thursday night game.
Cleveland and Volcano Vista and
La Cueva.
What a game that's going to be. That's going to be one heck of a game. And again, La Cueva coming back off the state championship, they're loaded again.
Well, I'll say this like I've always said: La Cueva's the defending state champion. Until they're beat, there's this defending state champion. So in my mind, they're number one until they get beat. Are they going to have a run for the money? Cleveland, you know, lost last year to them, and you know that doesn't fare with Coach Reiner. And so we've really have a wide open football year for the 5A class this year. Some outside shots. Clovis is going to be good. They say Las Cruces is going to be good. All these teams we're going to be seeing earlier in the year. So depending on the team, you know, as we all talk about, and you talk about, injuries, grades, sickness, those things will all pay through this whole season. But right now, La Cueva, and if anybody asks me, La Cueva is the defending state champ, and until they're beat, they should be number one.
I'll tell you what, Chad Adcock's returning to coaching at Sandia. He took a year off, and you know, it was interesting to me because when he retired, or he said he was stepping away, he mentioned a lot of things, Steve. He mentioned health. He mentioned time with his family. Then when Kevin Barker retired after 20 years at Sandia, an opportunity arose for Coach Adcox. His son, I believe, is going to Sandia. So all of a sudden, you know, Steve, it's hard to give that up. You coached for many years. You did some coaching this summer, and I think when that bug, you know, is in you, it's hard to say, I don't want to be around that. That happened to Bruce Arians, who coached the Cardinals, and then all of a sudden he's back with Tampa Bay this year. It's just an itch that's hard not to scratch.
Well, I think with him, he was kind of just burned out. Okay, you know, I mean, think about it. He won the coveted blue trophy. Okay, and he's from a family background. His dad never missed one of his games, and he was missing some of his son's moments, and that was working on him, and just the grind of it. Well, basically he realized, you know, it wasn't too bad of a grind. This is what I do, and this makes me and my family happier, and I think that his family embraced him with doing that. So it's all good. It's great to have him back. So, and that's good for Sandia. You know, Sandia, you know, coming off a couple, 3 or 4 years, gives them some new life and some new, nothing against Coach Barker. Probably, you know, they're 18, 19 years, and had a phenomenal, record, and also amazing what he's done for the student athletes that have been played for him.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I think it puts a little extra sauce into that Sandia-Monzano game, because Coach Adcox, of course, state champions with Monzano in 2017, and that was just a heck of a team that he had over there.
What's kind of interesting about that is that, Coach Barker came from Monzano to Sandia and was very successful in Monzano. Here's Coach Adcox. He's coming from Monzano, wins the state championship, and had great success, and was a great assistant under Campo. So it's just kind of neat that Sandia has quality coaches. So.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Does it concern you at all? Now, we talked about this a little bit at the coaches clinic. We got to sit with Coach Judge Chavez of Valley, David Howes of Rio Rancho, and it seems like numbers are a little bit down for football. Does that concern you at all a little bit as far as participation numbers now throughout the state, Steve? There's a couple of teams that couldn't field some teams. Does that concern you at all as far as participation numbers?
Well, I read an article in Sports Illustrated, and there's been a lot of articles, and they're talking about football because of the helmets and injuries, and parents concerned about their sons and daughters. That yes, there's a big concern about that. And even in this article, they basically said, and that was like 3 or 4 years ago when the helmet crisis came out, when concussions was a big, hadn't been addressed correctly. Now that in 10 years, that high schools, there might not be football teams in high school. There'll be club teams instead of actually a part of the school, and that's going to be going across the country. Now, is that an extreme? I believe it is, but it just lets you know that in the future, football may not be known as it was as you and I grew up.
And I'll tell you what, you grew up in Clovis, okay? So All-American basketball player, Clovis. I know you don't like people to know that, but you were. Now, in football, under Coach Roanhouse over there at Clovis, right? I went to Highland, and the football was an institution at both places. Now, I had Coach Lopez, or Coach Lovato on from Highland last week. Now, we know Highland has struggled for years, not only with athletic numbers, just school numbers, getting kids to go to Highland, right? So I think numbers-wise, when you mentioned the things that you did about the helmets, concussions, you just kind of wonder, hopefully, and I love football. I never played it, right? I was a basketball player like you. But we've enjoyed it. We've loved to cover it. It does a lot. Coach Dragmeister, he just left here. He could tell you what football meant to him and how many kids he coached. He coached so many sports. You just wonder, like you mentioned, the club teams. I heard that mentioned too about a club team, and that might be the future. Now, not for a while. Coach Chavez thought maybe 10 years down the line that they might, the numbers might not be enough to field teams in the metro area. Nationally, Aquesta couldn't field a team. There's some other teams in the state that couldn't field teams. So you kind of wonder what that means as far as the future of football.
Well, you talked about the millennials, J.J. Buck, and
right.
you were giving him a hard time a bit about Young, but you look at those type people. Here's, I'm just bringing this out, esports. I mean, there's a sport there that's coming out. And it's getting addicting. Okay, so yes, football is a big concern. As long as the NFL is at its prominence the way it is right now, and college the way it is, I think on the big schools, I think it's going to be great. But I think because of the finances and things, there's a big concern for smaller colleges.
Esports is interesting to me. You just had Dan Serrano. You were meeting with Dan Serrano. And Coach Serrano coaches at Albuquerque High. I've known Dan for many years. He said last year he asked a tall prospect, hey, why don't you come out for basketball? And the guy said to him, why should I when I can win an esports championship? I don't have to run and work out and sweat. So, Steve, I think we haven't seen really the effect of esports. I think the effect will be seen more 5 to 7 years from now.
And again, that's where the numbers of football, and actually, esports could be bigger than all sports because they're putting money behind it, and so the prizes they win is you don't have no eligibility. I won $500 for winning this contest this week.
I'll tell you what, we haven't seen the effects of that, and it's interesting to me. We'll have to see later down the line what kind of effects that'll be. I want to thank our special guest today, J.J. Buck from 610, also Proview President Steve Davis. For our producer, Alden Iowani, I'm Ed Nunez. We'll be back next week on the Sports Desk.
The Barley Room, a proud sponsor of Proview Networks for over 9 years, is pleased to introduce Black Iron Catering. From weddings and family reunions to birthdays and office parties, Black Iron Catering is perfect for any event. Contact Jamie at 505-459-8259 and book your event today. Black Iron Catering. Let us bring our kitchen to you.
Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline,